Hello, it's Paul, and for today's presentation, we're doing the BlackSky event analysis, critical infrastructure resilience, threat analysis, and response planning. It was a very interesting set of webinars slash documentaries that we got to watch for this week's class, and it's one thing to think about and very interesting how we would get through these challenges if they were to happen. Uh, What really BlackSky event is a catastrophic event that severely disrupts critical infrastructure across, infrastructure words these days across multiple regions for extended durations. It's physical, cyber, and electrical interference. So like for example, geomagnetic disturbances, EMPs, etc. So if a nuclear bomb went off, you'd have an EMP-like event that would disrupt electrical systems. And it is a very fascinating topic in that sense. So if you look at the physical component, it's drone strikes on a substation, kinetic attacks on grid nodes and transmission lines. So everything in our society runs on power. Your internet, your electricity, your TVs, everything runs on power. So that would be one of the phases. Then cyber, you'd basically cripple any functionality of the software and the components that function on the electrical grid or use the electrical grid, and then you'd have your EMP completely disabling them, so you put everybody in the dark. Very powerful tool in warfare or as a critical infrastructure breakdown due to some tragic natural event. But in reality, it would be a multi-coordinated domain attack between the physical strikes, the cyber escalation, and then cascading collapse. It's designed to completely paralyze the entire grid and system so that there is no response. And building resilience around that obviously is one of the big important components that we can bring to bear. So when traditional risk matrices fall short, the convergence problem becomes a really challenging issue between 96 and 120 hours, 2 to 3 weeks, and then 4,000 plus megawatts going down. That's pretty big, and you don't want to be in a situation where when you're caught in that type of environment. So there's several cascading dependencies. You have electric power, water, emergency management, comms data, and then natural gas or any other energy nodes. Believe it or not, the green energy is relatively resilient because it's independent, connected to different sources versus like a nuclear power plant, gas power plant, coal power plant, hydrogen, etc. That they are a main node connected versus like a wind farm or a solar farm where they are all individually connected. A lot harder to disrupt those components. So that is one thing that we can look at as a solution. Building resilience, it's cross-sector exercises. Is building the in my opinion, long-term wise, is building the capacity that after an attack happens and things fall apart to be able to quickly begin rebuilding it. Now, obviously, you want to have that capability, and then long term as well, you want to have the capability to prevent it in the first place, or when it's starting to happen, you're able to react to it in a timely manner. This requires a all societal level perspective and practice and training and building of a mental resilience towards something like this. Basically, to think about it, it's just like pandemics now that everybody since the dawn of the Black Plague knew that pandemics are going to hit society every once in a while, and particularly in a globalized society that we are today. You have greater opportunities of pandemic events that you have to have that in the back of your mind that something can hit, and you have to have a prepared drive to be able to withstand these situations. So when you're building cross-sector exercises to see where your weaknesses are, survivable communication. So the biggest thing is if all your power goes out, and there's a cyber attack, an EMP, you have to have some kind of communication system that's able to communicate out to different parts of the node. Also, understanding your dependency mapping, what dependencies are going to get affected first, and how to harden them, as well as how to effectively repair them, and then develop counter unmanned vehicle systems. Systems like, for example, in Ukraine, they have the different the anti-drone drones that take out all the Shaheds, basically drone-on-drone interceptions. Something to look at. And there's another example is in the Iran war that we are seeing when you have the Iranians firing ballistic missiles and drones towards civilian infrastructure like water desalination plants, energy infrastructure, etc. And then also the big one's fuel logistics. So solving a lot of your last mile delivery and having nodes where you can move fuel quickly to power things, because you're going to need fuel when you're going to be rebuilding these mega projects when you're building the entire infrastructure. And then, be able to convert to manual operations in case automation fails. I mean, obviously, when you have an attack that's cybersecurity energy based, your automation components are going to completely fail. So you're going to have that resilience where you can do it manually. So one of the big things is, prepare locally, exercise regionally, and think nationally. So if we do it locally and we exercise as groups within a region, we should be able to be more than fine if something happens like this, because each region and local level elements will have to be able to execute on these challenges. So the overarching lesson hasn't happened. Basically, if it hasn't happened, does not equal that it can't happen. You have to think of worst case scenarios. Black swan events happen all the time, even the gray swans, or I like to call it all the swans in the pond scenario. So cross-sector collaboration, survival communications, and honest exercises are not optional. They are foundational to black sky resilience. So as a society, we have to continuously prepare for this and take it seriously, and not, expect things to work every single day. Thank you, and I really appreciate you listening to this presentation.